Get this on the Triple M network.
Well, Tony Martin, yes. Ed Cavalier's here.
With Richard Marsland on the buttons.
Really? I think he's getting a bit full of himself.
Well said, Prime Minister.
Bit nasty.
Nail on the head.
Yeah.
Well done. In case you're wondering, new listeners in the new time slot, Richard Marsden pushes the buttons on the show. Has that been established, do you think, in the 3 weeks?
I think so.
I think we've gotten that away a couple of times.
We're across that.
I'm on the buttons, everyone.
Yeah. Is there any show you don't work on? I mean, we know you're on the Rove on Sunday nights. Mm-hmm. We know you're on Newstopia on SBS on Wednesday night.
Not necessarily on it, but I've been submitting some stuff
Yeah,
for
but
it.
it's only a matter of time. Ep 3, Ep 4, you'll be up the back, and by Ep 8, where will McAuliffe be?
Out in the back, getting you coffee. Now, you ride a lot of rat face on Kerry Ann's gear as well, don't you?
Yeah, all the information.
Orange off cider.
Yep.
For those who aren't sure who Ratface on Kerry Ann is, I'm not sure myself, but I'm going to tune in one day.
He's the guy sitting next to Kerry Ann throwing to the vacuum cleaner ads.
I started with Moira on
you?
GMA, went to the Rifkin Report,
Yeah.
late nights. When that dried up, straight to Channel 9. Is
that right?
Morning, yeah.
Come on, you're on community television in the mornings.
Oh,
You are.
yeah.
I've seen your breakfast show.
Well, once a week on the Breakfast Show, Channel 31. Fantastic
Yeah.
show. Great fun.
Goes out in most states, I hear.
It's live.
Okay.
Yep.
Who's the woman you do it with?
Emma Race.
Okay.
Very talented young lady.
I've actually taped it this morning.
Is that so?
Yeah, we've got some clips so that we can finally prove to the nation that you are on Breakfast TV. And I understand, we get some big names in here.
Biggest.
Man, Guzzy Sampson.
Guzzy Wuzzy Sampson. Guzzy's dog comes in
Greg Fleet shows up from time to time.
when he's not meant to.
But, Richard, how do you get those big names on your breakfast community TV show?
I don't know. It draws a lot of water in this town.
Emma Race and Richard Marsland. Listen to the big name they had in this morning.
It's time for the surprise interview.
is great.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
I'm actually going to cover up your eyes.
All right, cool.
Okay, so this is the thing. We're bringing in a guest. You don't know who it is.
I don't know who it is.
And you are going to have to run the interview.
I haven't researched
Be professional.
this. Okay.
We're bringing in a guest now.
Great.
The person is sitting down. I don't know if you can smell the person.
I'm getting
Okay.
a smell, and it is the most immediate sense, and I almost touched you there on the boob. I didn't mean to. Sorry, Emma.
That wasn't my boob. That's
Because
okay.
I can't see.
Okay,
Hello.
are you ready?
Yep.
Richard Marsland, do you recognise this voice?
Hi, Richard.
And you know what? I need to hear a little bit more from that voice if I can.
I'm Richard, and I've currently grown my hair to the point where it's a mop, so you can't see my ears.
I think I might know who it is, Emma.
It is, of course,
Ed
your
Cavalis?
long-time
Cavalis.
co-host.
Yeah.
Ed Cavalier from
Ed-
TV's Thank God You're Here, and
yeah.
get this on Triple M.
Get this on Triple M.
Oh, wow.
There I was.
Cross promotes in.
Station got a mention. Surely promotions will be happy with us now.
Yeah.
Well,
We've
I mean,
finally got onto a TV show.
Community TV. I think we were sandwiched right between Vasili's Garden and the four-wheel drive hour as
Yeah,
well, which draws
yeah.
hugest numbers.
Move It or Lose It is on after us.
Is it? What's that?
That is physical fitness for the elderly in our community.
Dear.
So it's all filmed at a nursing home.
What are they going to lose?
Well, there's a lot of exercises, Pilates and what have you.
What are they trying to hold on to there, exactly?
You got to keep it moving.
Their swagger.
Yeah, well, what about your fitness regime? You've never mentioned it on this program in 2 years.
That's true.
Look what Marsden got out of him this morning.
Now, clearly you work out.
I do glutes, perineum, and traps.
You do really? Because I do Kegels, and we're both so weird. We should get
Really?
together.
How is your transverse abdominis? Strong?
Everything
You can
is
really
great.
hold it back?
What are you guys talking about?
Yeah.
Perineum and trats and something else.
Well, mine was a joke because glutes is ass muscle, obviously. Perineum is, well,
Well-
the Mars bar in children's parlance.
Yeah.
And
I was in Kegels country.
yeah, now what's a Kegel, Rich?
Oh, that is. I probably couldn't go through it. It's more of a late night sex show sort of talk.
Oh.
I thought it was a loaf of bread from Holland. Maybe not. Okay. And then I noticed that, Ed, you'd done a bit of preparation.
The most I've ever done, Tone.
Wow.
I phoned it in like 3 days earlier. I knew I was going on. There was only one thing I wanted out of this interview, and I got it.
Now, I've got some questions which I want Richard to ask me, and they're at the bottom of this bowl of custard, which is nice.
Oh, that is sensational. Thanks
yeah.
for the.
Unfortunately, you need to use 2 hands with this particular brand of custard.
It really
Is
is.
there
It really is.
are there
Yes.
any questions?
Get
Oh,
in.
okay,
I'm
there we
moving
go.
right away
There's
here.
something in there.
Ed Cavalier.
And what does it say, Richard?
Oh, okay. It says sucked in custard head.
Yeah!
Thanks very much, mate. Cheers.
Wow.
Oh, I couldn't be happier with how that went.
How much planning did that require?
Well, because when I got there, they had some custard, but not enough. They only had one tub. I was like, he's not even going to get past the knuckles with that. Get another bowl. I want him up to his wrists, and a
All
little
right.
card that was laminated so it didn't get wet said sucked in custard hands.
We are
Brilliant.
across all media.
Good
Media sluts. Get this.
G'day, Daniel. How are you?
Good, thanks, Ed. How you going?
Whoa, I'm excellent. Who did you impersonate?
I was out at a prominent nightclub in Brisbane a couple of weeks back,
No.
and I've got a friend who is gay, and he was having a lot of trouble being pursued by another gay man, so he gave me his signal for help get me out of here, and I had to impersonate being a gay man.
Oh, that's
Been together ever since. Lovely story.
No funny stuff, just the whole persona and voice, that's all.
And I'm sure it was understated, Daniel. I'm sure it was very, very subtle.
see, that is the basis for a Curb Your Enthusiasm or a Seinfeld episode right there.
not
No, you're
bad.
not wrong.
Write that down. That's a beauty.
But good on you, Daniel, going to save your mate from unwanted advances. And hello to anyone out there that does that to me.
Don't worry, mate. I'll just bung on Mr. Humphries. That'll sort it out right
She'll
away.
be right.
I think Rob Schneider's taking that idea for a movie.
Hello.
Hello, Mandy. How are you?
I borrowed my sister's passport and came over to Australia on a 4-day holiday when I was 17.
Are you twins at all?
No, she's a lot older and a lot shorter than me.
Right, and so they just didn't want to say anything about the photo for fear of insulting you?
No, but oh God, I was so nervous going through customs.
Mandy, why didn't you just get your own passport?
I had to come. I met a guy who was touring with a band
Oh, yeah.
through New Zealand.
Oh.
It was all very exciting.
Now,
Yeah.
which can you say which band it was?
It was when Devo went through New Zealand.
Did you wake up in the morning with one of those red hats just jauntily tilted on the corner of the bed head?
Oh no, it wasn't one of the guys in the band. It was one of the guys that was working for the band. He was a lot more attractive than the actual band member.
Oh,
Hats on or hats off?
Mandy, you.
Well,
Ooh.
that's great. So,
It was really exciting because my sister's really tiny and I'm very tall, and going through customs, my heart was just pounding. I was just petrified I was going to get caught, but I didn't. It was great fun.
well, it's a great tip for any potential terrorists out there. Obviously,
Hook up
Easy
with
it is.
Devo.
they do seem to come in via New Zealand, I've
Is that
noticed.
the way it goes?
It's because in New Zealand they're only concerned with fruit.
Oh, so true. Try to get a strawberry in. Get the full cavity search. Thank you, Mandy. Harry, how are you?
When me and the boys used to go out, I used to pretend to be like an African-American gridiron teacher to pick up the ladies.
And tell me, Harry, how did that go?
Well, they used to go something like, "Hi, I'm actually here from the States. I'm teaching kids how to play gridiron at your local high school. So, you like that shit? Yeah."
That's great. I love how
not
there's
a
no...
bad. The very good Vin Diesel as well.
And I lovely how there's not a second line. If they don't bite at I teach gridiron, then you're pretty much stuffed, which I like.
And then I take the top off and start pulling out the guns and shit, you know?
Yeah, man. Keep it street, Harry.
And I love a player's not enough. I'll have to be the guy who teaches the players.
And kiddies at that. Well done. Good on you, Harry.
For the
All right.
kids, you know?
No,
For the
I know.
kids.
It is for the kids. I know. You're a selfless man. Guns for kids. That's you, Harry.
What are you eating today, Ed?
Delicious tuna wrap.
Yep. Feel free to eat along at home. That's how it works. What's going on with Kevin Rudd now? I notice all the papers are onto this idea of Ruddy's Me Too-isms. Whenever Howard announces something,
Ruddy, straight away.
Ruddy says, I'll have what he's having.
Jeez, I watched the 7:30 report last night. I wish I'd invested in Pine yesterday at some point. Lots of Pine box talk.
Oh, yeah, people will be taken out in a pine box.
They're marching out the door.
Yeah. That's after they've rotted, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
It's left to rot for a
It's a
while.
cooling off period.
So I just think the answer is Howard should just start announcing really nutty stuff and see if
Ruddy will
yeah,
toe the line.
just make some crazy announcement. On the opening day of the new term of Parliament, I will be lighting my farts on live television.
Oof, that's gone up in smoke.
Oh, hang on.
Come on, Ruddy.
It was just a joke, Mr. Rudd.
Well, I wish you'd put it out.
Okay. Thank you very much, Richard. I love this story in the papers. Richard Pratt, the billionaire.
Oh, the box billionaire.
Yeah, the cardboard box billionaire.
Yeah.
In a bit of Vizard-style trouble.
Uh-oh.
Accused of price fixing and, cheating the public, basically.
I mean, I knew that the scallop industry was full of thugs, but I thought I could trust the box people.
Well, that's the thing. It's hard. I mean, I know it's a serious business and a lot of people are out of pocket, even everyone in this room, technically, if you think about it. Anyone who's bought something in a cardboard box.
Oh, right.
It's been a victim.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a collector, so I've really been hit hard.
But it's just hard to take a crime seriously when it's, cardboard box scam.
Oof.
Look out, they've got scissors.
Price war in the cardboard box industry. Where is the cardboard district, Richard?
Just down the road a little bit.
The
Next to the
cardboard
masking tape district.
billionaires. In fact, in that film Boytown, the one that caused all the trouble, there was a plane in it. If anyone saw it at the end. At the end, they were all on a sort of private jet. That was Richard Pratt's. own private plane that he loaned.
The plane that Boxers built.
It was made of cardboard. Everything.
I like to think that his mansion is
The
too.
whole thing made of cardboard.
And he has his car is just one of those things that he hooks over his shoulders and runs along with. Chugga, 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 chugga.
It's the cardboard magnets.
I didn't know that cardboard did so much, and there was a cardboard car in Bad Eggs as well, wasn't there?
Yeah, I don't know.
True? In the fountain or something?
I never saw it. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Walked out.
I'm waiting for the video.
Walked out halfway through.
What about, I tell you what, down the other end of the business spectrum, you've got St Vincent de Paul's.
Yep.
For a while, what did it get shortened to? St Vinny's.
St Vinny's, yeah.
Have you noticed them now? It's just Vinny's.
Oh.
They've lost the Saint bit.
They've lost the Saint, but it's
Yeah,
just
good.
Vinny's.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Looks like someone from The Sopranos is running a charity shop, quite frankly.
We've got to get rid of these guard fella.
Where's our envelopes, Vinny? Bring them down the bing.
At Frank Vincent de Paul's.
I'm hoping all of them are going to start doing that. Brotherhood of St Lawrence. Lorries.
Hey, Laurie.
When you call for an ambulance, I'll just call Jono's.
Can I get a Hawaiian with that?
Oh, no! I'm having a heart attack. Call Jono's.
Call
quickly.
Jono, seriously.
Who are you voting for? Pauline's. That's the name of her
there
political
it is.
party.
Yes.
Do you think that's going to pay off on polling day?
I don't know. I mean, I'm pulling for Jono, I'm pulling for Kevo.
Are you?
Will Pauline come through? Who can tell? What about Brownie?
What about the gummy bears? How does that song of theirs go? Ed sang it on the show the other day. Oh, I remember how it goes.
I'm a gummy bear in a gummy world, bouncing gummy stuff. Eat a gummy bear.
Is that how you want your phone to ring, listeners?
That's not the right song.
Yeah, no, it is.
It's not. He's got it wrong.
Yeah, he hasn't got it wrong.
Who got it wrong? But
Matt's got it wrong.
You sang it, and then Matt, I went in, and he looked 6 months older. I went in, he goes, I've tried every piece of music in the studio. Whatever he's doing, it doesn't fit anything. I'm taking it home. I've got the garage band business on me, computer at home.
Yeah.
Gets in the next day. Nah, even in the world of the abstract, I couldn't make it fit.
I'm like Nico. I'm breaking down musical barriers, you know?
What other things are you like, Nico? German? Dead? I'm not sure. Is
On
Nico
the skag.
Caught in a lift with Jim Morrison?
Is Nico dead? I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, she is. She was with John Cooper Clarke.
Few just as well. What do you mean she was with John Cooper Clarke?
They were living together when she passed away
Wow.
while riding a bicycle. Remember, Fleety said it on the
Gee,
show.
there's a health regime.
Anyway, the point is, Matt, that is not how that song goes. It's far more upbeat and it's far more jolly. That made it sound melancholy, man.
Yeah, John Cooper, melancholy. Look, hey, that's two puns in one if you think about it. Thank you, Nicky.
Double your puns with Get This.
Today, we're talking about satisfying moments in life.
Yeah, Tone, why are we doing this?
Because yesterday I was trying to get into the car park here at Triple M.
Yeah.
And there was a car that was sort of half blocking the entrance.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
That'll happen.
So what had happened was a parking officer had showed up to give that person a ticket. But in order to stop his car and give the ticket, he'd had to park right over the entrance to the car park.
So you couldn't get in?
Couldn't get in. So I'm winding the window down, saying to the parking officer, mate, you can't park there.
Oh, yeah.
No, mate, you cannot park. No, mate, I don't make the rules, all right? You're going to have to move. Oh, didn't that feel good?
Feels so good.
That's right, moments that trigger that music. That's what we're looking for today. Have you had one of these, Ed?
Yeah, Tone.
What happened?
Oh, Antiques Roadshow.
You were watching Antiques
Yeah,
Roadshow.
I'm getting good, Tone.
Yeah.
I am getting good.
What
First of all, I couldn't tell if a little scummy little teddy bear with a crown on it was worth $5 or 500. But these days, you put a piece of furniture in front of me, Rich, and I'll tell you where it's from. Quick smart. I picked a piece of northeast 18th century furniture just from a twist in the leg last night. £2,000, baby.
Yeah.
Bang.
So good.
Certainly does.
Woo!
Richard, what feels so good?
You know what I like doing is cutting out those little rings that come around the milk containers.
Yes,
Those little-
those nonsensical rings.
Yeah, those little annoying rings, like when you break the lid off.
I hate them.
Because that way platypuses won't get their beaks caught in them.
Oh,
It feels good to do that.
all right.
It feels very good.
Feels so good.
So,
Hang on a sec. Are there
I
any
know.
stats? Anyone listening who's down with the platypi, what are the stats per year of ring-based nose deaths?
Can we please stop throwing away these rings? Because this is hard work down here at the platypus end of the pool.
Wouldn't even fit over their bills.
No, but the bills, as opposed to a duck's bills, are quite squishy. And
No,
so-
they're not.
and
They need to
they
knead
can-
through rocks.
Yeah, that's right. They're kind of spongy, so they can actually get through things. So they actually get stuck
Yeah.
in those things, and also the things that beer comes in, those plastic
But they
things.
don't come in that anymore. So
You
what
know-
you're saying, Richard, is so you live in the inner city, yeah? in a house full of lotion. Now, the closest platypus...
Wearing the night vision goggles, answering the door naked, and keeping my urine in a bar fridge next to my bed.
According to the listeners.
You said it. Now, so the closest platypus to you would be where? The Murray-Darling Basin?
Miles away, but it's our collective problem.
See, he's taking the shine off the segment. I just love blatant self-interest. Now, let's help the animal kingdom.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
My apologies.
I'm sorry, Rich.
No, it's a
you're an environmental guy, and I'm sorry.
Some fake applause, please, for Harry Shearer. He's here. Oh, beautiful. Does his own.
Either fake applause or popcorn.
We've got it all. Whatever
Either
you
way.
want. Now, Harry, let's just get the business out of the way for the 3 people listening who don't
Here's
know.
$20.
Thanks
for having me on. No, there's not. It's 20 for the 3 of you.
No, that's okay. I'll get them their cut.
Excellent.
You get the full hour for the 20. But
Excellent.
Let's just get it out of the way. Which voices are you on The Simpsons? Then we can-
Burns, Smithers, Principal Skinner, Ned Flanders, Reverend Lovejoy, Kent Brockman, Scratchy Lenny, Dr. Hibbert, Dr. Marvin Monroe, Kang, McBain, God, the Devil, and Hitler. Thank you. Good night.
Very much. That's the end of the show. What was that heavy metal band you were in for a while?
Spinal Tap.
Oh, still going?
Yeah. Well, we were at the Live Earth show at, what was it, Wimbledon? No,
yeah.
Wembley. Yeah,
We saw
Wimbledon.
Warmer Than Hell. Is that the first
Yes.
original Tap composition in how many years?
Let's see. That would be the first in about 5 years. Our last one was Back from the Dead, which we did for a few select appearances.
See, the great thing of many great things about Spinal Tap is that, unlike with real bands, I guess, the older you get, the funnier it just seems to become.
Well, I think the great thing about Tap is we know we suck, which puts us miles ahead of so many bands. But
you can it can just go endlessly. Is it true there's some kind of legal business where you have to keep being Spinal Tap every few years in order?
There was. I don't think it's in existence anymore, but there was. We had to do something Spinal Tap related every 3 years to be able to claim we're Spinal Tap.
Because someone else owns the rights to
the wonderful people in France.
To the movie. How's this, Harry? I had out the Criterion Edition Laserdisc of Spinal Tap.
But you don't have a Laserdisc player, so you just stared at the disc?
I did, no. I've got an old karaoke machine that plays Laserdiscs.
Do you really?
And the DVD that you can get of Spinal Tap, it doesn't have all of the deleted scenes.
No. Each edition has different crap on it, so you have to buy all of them.
Well, the Criterion Edition is worth investing in if you can get it, because it's got you, or your character, Derek Smalls, talking about his solo album. Do you remember what it was called?
It's a Smalls World.
That's right.
Yeah, it's an 8-track super demo.
And according to Marty DeBerge, it was an album of all bass.
Yes.
There's a great moment where he says to you, I would imagine that an album of all bass wouldn't have much variation. And do you remember what your response was?
I do not.
You go, well, it's not about variation.
Well, that would be what one would say when put to that test, yeah.
Are you sick of people bringing this film up?
No, I love it. I love it. That film came so close to never coming out in the first place. We had to fight through so many obstacles to get the film released that the fact that it's out and people are talking about it still and that people are seeing it is such vindication for us, That the most amazing moment was the very same people, in some cases, the very same people who said no when we wanted to make the movie in the first place, were then 10 years later running after us with, satchels stuffed with cash saying, please do a sequel, and we got to say no to that.
Harry Shearer is our special guest for this hour, and just trying to tell us off air that George Bush is perhaps smarter than he looks. Is that right?
Well, there's a reporter named James Fallows, who's a very well-known Washington reporter I think he works for the Atlantic magazine now, and he wrote a piece about a year ago saying, all this stuff about Bush's problem with English, the English as a third language, it struck him as strange because he remembered when Bush was running for governor of Texas against Ann Richards, who was this sharp-tongued, really sassy woman with a great gift of gab, and Bush beat her in debates over and over again, and he said he talked in complete sentences, used the right words in the right order and everything.
Is it the drugs, or is it an act that he's bunging on to appeal?
Well, that's the question. Nobody really knows. Nobody has gone and asked that question. Nobody's followed up and said, what exactly is this? As a comedian and as a satirist who does Bush on occasion, that is to say every week on my radio show, he's great to work with. He's great to play with because he's I'm going to sing something a cappella or things like that. But does he really talk like that privately, or is this basically just, or is it the way he talks when it's about something that he doesn't really mean?
Right. Okay.
There's somebody in the States said in the press recently, he talks goofy when he's trying to pretend that he cares about stuff he really doesn't care about.
Okay, right. I remember years ago the late Phil Hartman used to do an impersonation of Ronald Reagan.
Oh, yeah.
Where he was sort of doddering, when he was talking, and then when he went behind closed doors, he was this really sharp guy who was like ordering people about.
Well, I did a sort of a similar thing too. I thought that Reagan was a guy who used the fact that people thought he was out of it to his advantage.
Right.
And when congressmen came into his office and wanted to discuss some urgent matter, and they'd walk away saying, "He just told me stories about life in the Warner Brothers commissary."
Yeah, of course.
Reagan would be sitting there going, "Another job well done."
Sorted.
Yeah, got them.
You mentioned your radio. I've never heard you talk about your radio show. How many years has it been going?
23 friggin' years.
And what's it called?
Can I say years on the air?
You can say whatever you want. Le Show.
Le Show. It's called Le Show. Because in America, when I started and also still now, there's this strange fascination for putting the word le in front of something to class it up.
Right.
Le steak, le club.
Ooh, that sounds good. Jeez.
Yeah, le shoe. My favorite one is something they sold for a while for women to pump their own gas in self-serve gas stations.
Yeah.
Le gas glove.
Ooh, sacre bleu.
Do you give those away
C'est vrai.
on your show?
No, I do not. There are no giveaways on my show. It's so it's an hour a week, which must sound like heaven to you.
Yeah,
right
great.
about now.
Very nice. But are there songs or?
I play some music. I get to choose the music.
Yeah, wow.
From my own personal collection.
Imagine that.
Imagine one's own personal collection. And I talk and I do a couple of comedy sketches.
And this goes out in like 70 stations around the country.
Yeah, and it goes out on the internet, so you can hear it at harryshearer.com, and it's on a radio station in Berlin, of all places.
Hey.
It's just all over the world in strange places.
I found some albums that you made for the show recently, and they were concerned with the O.J. Simpson trial.
And he's back.
Which you attended, didn't you?
I attended the civil trial, the second trial.
And I found that there were two albums. The first one was called O.J. on Trial, The Early Years.
Yes.
And the second one was called O.J. on Trial, The Endless Summer.
Yeah.
And it's hard to remember what you were talking about.
It's hard for me. Who was Judge Ito?
Judge Ito, but there was a great one which was Kato Kalin.
Yes.
Reading Peter and the Wolf.
Oh, yes, with John Tesh.
Doing synthesizer solos. That's still pretty funny.
Yeah, that was funny. Thank you. I'd forgotten about that. Kato Kalin, America's house guest, as he was known in those days.
And you... so obviously, is OJ a big part of your show again?
He's coming back, baby. He's coming back. We were just wrestling. Nicole and I were just wrestling.
But hang on.
You know this story about him being busted in
So he's
Vegas?
charged into a hotel room, has he?
Yes.
Where some gentlemen have memorabilia that he says is his.
Gentlemen.
Well, that's what. Yeah.
Interesting usage.
Well, we use a lot of allegedlys on this program.
Yes,
Harry.
one must. Alleged gentleman. No, it's part of what's been amazing about that story is just as you learn how bizarrely creepy the world of sports collectibles is.
Yeah, right.
All these guys that were in that room, you read about their backgrounds because the defenders of OJ are like slagging the backgrounds of all these guys in the room, and you think, yeah, but that's the room he walked into.
Yeah,
those are the people he knows.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Those are his peeps.
Now, like 10 years ago when you were doing all this satire on the OJ case and doing these albums in your radio show, could you ever have imagined the book? That book where
if I did it.
If I did it. Have you read it?
No, I haven't. I haven't bought it. But if I bought it, here's what I would think. No, I loved it. I loved it when it was originally going to come out under the imprint of Rupert's publishing company. And I had Rupert being part of a new publishing imprint, Hypothetical Books.
That's right.
And his own hypothetical memoir was If I Wanted to Dominate the World and Make It Totally Pig Ignorant.
How do you get on with Rupert Murdoch these days?
Oh, we're like this.
Are you the one who causes all the trouble? When he threatens to sack everybody on the Simpsons staff every couple of years because they want money or something?
Yeah, I'm the whatever it is in the punch bowl.
Yeah. Okay, well, he's I don't know if you read any of our papers down here, but
I sure do.
He's determined to defeat the potential Prime Minister, Mr. Kevin Rudd.
Is he really?
Yeah, well, we had Kevin Rudd came out against capital punishment.
Yeah.
And that translated to a headline on the front of the Australian yesterday. Rudd says, save the barley bombers.
Oh, right. I saw that. Yeah.
He'll try anything.
I think Rupert is not against Kevin Rudd so much for political reasons, because Rupert's only politics is really business. I think he just wants to make sure that he still has the death penalty available for his employees.
Fair enough.
Of course. Fair's fair.
Fair's fair.
Yeah. Harry, just tell us quickly, why are you in Australia?
Why am I in Australia? Well, I was swimming to Fiji and I turned right.
Of course you were.
I'm here for the Commercial Radio Australia conference and awards. So there's a conference I get to speak my mind about radio to all the biggies in the radio industry in Australia, commercial radio industry, on Friday, and then I'm doing a couple of things at the awards show on Saturday night at Crown.
All right. Now, have you heard much Australian radio? Do you know what you're in for?
I've been interviewed on a bunch of it today, so I've heard it on the other end of the phone.
Okay.
And I've downloaded some Lawsy in my time.
Oh, yeah.
Lawsy.
Is that for you? I know you're a great collector of odd clips, and when you were out here making Frontline a few years ago, you couldn't wait to see Michael Hirsch's compilation tape of terrible moments from our Logie Awards.
Yes.
You seem to collect things like this.
Well, my wife and I, one of the things we share is a belief that, good show business can so often disappoint, but bad show business never does.
Never lets you down.
Never lets you down. So if you really want enjoyment, that's where you should go.
Wow.
And of course, that philosophy is the philosophy behind YouTube. So
of course. Isn't that a gold? Hasn't that become a gold mine? Do you often just get on
Everybody's bad collection of stuff is now up there. Somebody, Christopher Guest, as a matter of fact, emailed me links a couple days ago to somebody who had an old video, a kinescope of Jerry Lewis doing The Jazz Singer as a television production in 1959.
God. What was that like?
Oh, well, it's like, second only to the movie that I've seen that nobody else in the world has seen.
The
Day the Clown Cried. There you are.
I really want to see that.
Yeah, never will.
This is
but
what
I did.
Jerry Lewis was...
A clown in a concentration camp.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Basically, is the headline. Taking the kids on their way to their demise. And he made it as a serious movie. Other results, of course, ensued.
And a bit of a footnote for Australian viewers. Anki from Sweden, the last of the Barrel Girls on Perfect Match.
Oh, yes.
Was one of the kids.
Anki was.
One of the kids led off to the gas chamber, let's not beat about the bush, by Jerry Lewis in that unreleased film. Fantastic. A bit of a boring question, but I need to know, Harry, what was your first screen appearance? How far back would we have to go?
A screen appearance, I was about 8 years old.
Wow.
I was in a movie called Abbott and Costello Go to Mars.
Wow.
And
can you remember anything of that?
Yeah, it was a day's work. And I had one line, but I repeated it over and over again. I mean, that was in the script that I repeated over and over again, not that I did it badly. And the line was, "But how does a spaceship work?" Roughly in that tone of voice.
And was Costello able to tell you?
No, that was the joke.
Of course.
was his reaction.
And then, what was your...
and then The Robe, shortly thereafter.
The Robe.
I was the first CinemaScope child.
What was your character?
The crippled boy.
Of course.
David, the crippled boy.
And what about Jack Benny? I'm a huge fan of Jack Benny.
Oh, well, that was my very first gig in show business, was working for Jack Benny.
And were you sort of sidekicking it to him, or?
Yeah, I was. He had a troop of like Boy Scout, Cub Scout kind of kids called the Beverly Hills Beavers. These were more innocent days. And I was one of those, and I played Benny as a child sometimes, and worked for him for 8 years.
I'm just jumping around the resume because obviously we need...
You're a fan of his.
Seriously? I love Jack Benny. There's a film he did called To Be or Not to Be.
Oh, one of the best American comedies ever made.
And you have to keep in mind it was made before the outcome of World War II was known.
That's right.
It was a very brave film to have made.
It was an amazing... I show it... Every once in a while I get a chance to like show movies in Hollywood to say, look, here's how things should be done. And I show that as an example of how, against the feelings of people like Woody Allen and others, that comedy is for trivia, and if you have something serious to say, you should be serious in saying it.
Yeah, you're right.
That you can talk about the most serious stuff in the world in the form of comedy. And here were these people in the middle of World War II doing a comedy about the Nazis and Hitler and getting it so right.
Yeah.
And it was Carol Lombard's best performance ever.
Yeah.
It's such a funny movie. I'm so glad to hear you say that, because when you say To Be or Not to Be today, most people think of the Mel Brooks remake.
Which means is meaningless, really. A very funny pre-title sequence when they do Sweet Georgia Brown, downhill from there. But the original, it's just, can you get funnier than Jack Benny just coming out in the Hamlet costume?
Oh, my
and
God.
Just the way he walks out is a killer.
It's an amazing example of how an actor can take his persona from out of the movie and get additional laughs in the movie from bringing that persona in while staying in character. You know, people knew that Jack Benny's character was vain, and so as he became this terrible Polish Shakespearean actor, the great Polish actor, he just got additional laughs from people knowing that it's Benny doing this, even though he never broke character. He never winked. He never, got out of the character.
Maybe people only know him from a clip that you often see on the TV of him claiming that he can't play the violin.
Ah, yes.
He was the greatest bad violinist, really, wasn't he?
And he actually was very proud of his prowess. Played with symphony orchestras all the time, but did it as a joke.
There is so much we could talk to you about Harry Shearer, but why should we have all the asking fun? Listeners, it's your chance to throw a question at Harry.
G'day, Anthony.
Yeah, g'day, mate. I was wondering which voice Harry likes doing the most.
Probably
C. Montgomery Burns, because he's pure evil.
Do people just buttonhole you and ask for Burns? I mean, is that do you get sick of that at all? Or?
No, they don't, and I don't.
No, of course not.
People are very nice about it. They're very understanding that I'm not going to be doing voices, at the drop of a hat, so to speak, and. They'll normally be very understanding, except for the people who drag their children around just for the sheer purpose of saying, it's not for me, it's for my kid. And the kid is going,
That's right.
Scary.
Have any of your characters been killed off, Harry? Have any of them been retired?
Yes. Dr. Marvin Monroe.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Dr. Marvin Monroe, who was a family therapist early on and was a therapist. I think the whole joke was he was a therapist with a really horrible manner, a very off-putting manner. And so I gave him a very off-putting voice. Thank God they killed him off. But I didn't know that they were killing him off until I turned on a Halloween episode of, Treehouse of Horror episode.
Yeah.
And they always have a camera move through the graveyard, and you see funny headstones. And one of the headstones was for Dr. Marvin Monroe. And that was how I learned that my character had been killed off.
So I was just going to ask a quick question. Nick Riviera, he gets crushed at the end of the Simpsons movie.
Yeah.
Is that an official death?
Yeah, is that the end of
I don't
Nick,
think
or?
I don't think deaths in Simpson Land are official until they're marked with a headstone, because Spinal Tap, was in a bus crash, but we still live.
All right, fair enough.
Good point.
Thank you.
Who's next?
Thank you. Hi, Daniel. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Ask away.
Yeah.
By the way, what's this?
Oh, this is some soup, Harry, which
It's really repulsive looking.
Okay, I'll just,
Sorry, Daniel. You listen to the show. You know how this show works.
I do. It's all about soup, isn't it?
A tub of really gelatinous looking soup that just is. Oh, you don't want to watch it move, Daniel. Count your blessings that it's radio.
What have you got for us, Daniel?
Yeah, look, in A Mighty Wind, you played a transsexual double bass player.
Yes.
There was a bit of a rumour, which you could confirm for me, maybe, that you guys actually played a Spinal Tap concert and were your own support act as the Folksmen. Is that correct?
We did it several times. Yeah, it's not a rumor. We played Carnegie Hall in New York. We played the Greek Theater in Los Angeles. We played the Warfield in San Francisco, and a couple other gigs. Started the evening as the Folksmen, in Folksmen regalia with doing Folksmen material. Said thank you to smattering of applause because people didn't really. It was a Spinal Tap audience, and they really didn't get.
Is it true you were booed off one night?
Well, one night we announced that it was Spinal Tap with opening act, the Folksmen, and we had such a great time at Carnegie Hall in New York. We went back to New York to the Beacon Theater, and somebody left off the announcement of an opening act. So rock and roll audience when they don't expect an opening act.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was Tap's audience, and we're trapped in these other characters, so we couldn't say, no, it's us. Look, it's your friends. It's the guys you like. We're just looking different. So we really were having the experience of joking about being booed off the stage while being booed off the stage.
Wow. Do you play real folk? I guess the cat's out of the bag now that The Mighty Wind has been released. But for years, you were just playing folk festivals.
We would do that from time to time, yeah, and be up against the so-called real folkies. We played a folk festival at UCLA and were followed immediately to the stage by the Kingston Trio.
Wow!
And the only way you could tell the difference between them and us is that backstage they were the ones who were smoking cigarettes.
You said to me often people would go through the whole set not realizing that it was comedy until the encore, which was.
Oh, it was Flashdance. What a feeling.
There you go.
Yeah.
Which does sound beautiful.
It sounds like a folk song when you start it.
Yeah, you're right.
Matthew, are you there?
Hi. I was reading Beat magazine this morning, and I noticed that Saxon are having their first Australian tour. And I remember Tony said that they were a major influence on This Is Spinal Tap. I was wondering what Harry thought of that.
They were a major influence on me in the sense that I before we made the movie, I went on the road with Saxon for about a week and a half just to because we were going to be performing. We hadn't done a lot. We had done a few gigs before the movie, but I just wanted to get some more stage savvy. And what I picked up from Saxon was that the bass player did something that I just immediately stole, which is play open strings as much as possible so the left fist can go up in the air.
Yes.
A few things like that, and some wardrobe tips. Interestingly enough, the bass player and guitar player of the original Saxon are writing a book in Britain right now called Saxon, Drugs, and Rock and Roll.
Of course.
And they interviewed me about that week and a half for the book. I went and saw them about earlier this year. And even though they didn't know anything about what we were doing or who I was or what the point of the thing was, they remembered so much more about what went down during that week and a half than I did. I ended up interviewing them to find out what was that.
That's fantastic. Well, have we got anyone else on the line?
Mia is here. Mia, are you there?
Harry, I love This Is Spinal Tap. It's my
Thank you.
favourite movie.
Thanks.
I know this is probably a boring question, but how do you guys kind of rehearse or do the show? Are you all in the same room, or is it... you know what I mean? Like,
Oh, you mean The Simpsons?
The Simpsons.
Yeah, sorry, The Simpsons.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. With The Simpsons, we are all together when we record the show.
So you don't do it over the phone or anything like that?
Very rarely.
Right.
Every once in a great while, somebody will be in another city and we'll phone it in. But the vast majority of the time, we get together for what's called the read-through, which is the rehearsal of the script before we start recording, and then a few days later, after the writers have had at it one more time, we all assemble in the same studio to record. It's very much like watching a radio play in the old days being recorded. We stand or sit around microphones in a sort of a semicircle and do each scene 4 times and do it straight through. So if Burns is talking to Smithers, and then Smithers is talking to Burns, we do it in order. So
wow. And do you have all the guest stars with you in the room, or are they separate?
Normally not. No, normally their schedules don't necessarily coincide with ours. So Dr. Stephen Hawking was there, but he doesn't have that busy a schedule, I guess. And Michael Jackson came in when we were there, so that was the most bizarre one I've ever experienced.
One I have to ask about, and he's certainly not a household name, and I'm not even sure how you say his name. Is the author? Is it Thomas Pynchon?
Pynchon, yeah.
Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
He's never done anything. I don't think there's only 2 photographs of him in existence.
Famous recluse.
Never been interviewed ever.
Yeah.
How does he end up on The Simpsons twice?
I think the writers were just so idolatrous of him that they I don't know what they had to use as sweeteners. What do you do to convince? Hey, Tom, there's a $5 in it for you.
Okay.
I don't know, but yeah.
Okay, if you've got Thomas Pynchon in The Simpsons,
Mm-hmm.
who's going to say no? Has there been any no's ever?
Oh yeah,
Really?
I don't know.
Kidman
about,
said no. I think Kidman said no, didn't she?
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I'm probably afraid that certain subjects would come up. That,
He's probably afraid that it might be good.
Yeah,
we don't have that happening.
That'll hurt.
All right,
tough room.
I can't believe we're through the hour.
I know.
You're going to have to come back and play for more prizes tomorrow, Harry.
All right. Do I have a lovely parting gift?
What is the party?
Soup.
The prize key.
No!
is
Delicious soup.
threatening our guest with his lunch. Shearer, get this.
Get this at the new time of 2 o'clock.
Or in Adelaide, 3 o'clock.
On the Triple M Network.
Oh, hello, listeners. Tony Martin here. That's technically the end of the podcast, but I just have to address a few questions you've been sending in. Here are some of the sketches we can't put on the podcast because of copyright music issues. Kenny GMD, John Howard singing a duet with Tim Finn, the duet I did with Barry White for Neighbours Plot or Not, and of course Richard's spectacular salute to Bob Dylan. Can't use any of those, I'm afraid. Also, my book Lolly Scramble, you can still get it if you just ask the bookshop to order it in for you. And Adelaide listeners, I have no idea why the second hour of our show is not broadcast over there. Nobody has been able to successfully answer that question for me for 6 months. And now, as a treat for sticking through this boring announcement, Maddie, could you just push all the buttons in the studio at once. See you next time.
Too cute by half.
Right.
The man whose arms
It's Shearer.
If you enjoyed this podcast, find out why people are saying this about DJ Dom, Triple M's online audio assassin.
I really do want to register a complaint about the foul-mouthed pig that's on the radio. He should not be on the radio.
DJ Dom. Download the podcast now, triplem.com.au.